I'd like to call to order the City of Douglasville's Legislative City Council meeting, the work session for tonight, which is July the 1st. Our invocation will be done by Sarah Dickinson, Director of Adult Spiritual Formation of the First Presbyterian Church of Douglasville. It's good to see you. And after that, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by our Mayor Pro Tem, Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation.
Let's pray together. Father God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather to do important work. And we lift each of these city council members before you this evening. We pray that you would give them wisdom as they lead and work together, that you would give them humility as they seek to navigate and work with others through different perspectives and different needs of different areas within our county and city. Lord, we pray for the neighborhoods that they represent. We pray that you would help those that are living here in the city to be people of peace, who would reach out with open hands for more community, more connectedness. We know that there are hurts, there are struggles behind closed doors in the neighborhoods that we all come from within the city, Lord. And we pray that you would increase just this community's desire to reach out, to help meet needs, to reach out in relationship with one another. Lord, we pray for the many different projects that are happening in this community, especially the ones that this meeting is here to discuss, for the building projects. Lord, we pray for all those who are working on creating plans, who are working out the finances and the different dynamics of how things will go to develop new spaces for community, new spaces for business, and growth within our city. We pray for wisdom as those conversations happen this evening, that there would be a real understanding among people about hopefulness for the future of Douglasville and all that we are seeking to do as a city and as a community. Lord, we pray for the success of the many businesses here in our city that are seeking to recover from the pandemic, who are looking to expand, to grow back to what they were and to flourish even more. And we pray for the work that is done here in this room to help promote that. Lord, that you would be with the individuals that are really seeking to grow their businesses in this time or to create new opportunities for growth in our city, that you would guide them as they do that and help them to have the support they need to flourish. Lord, we pray and give thanks for the celebration that we're going to have this weekend at the 4th of July and the freedom that we celebrate here in Douglasville and across our country, that we can enjoy the freedom to gather in many ways, to exercise our vote, to live as free people. It is a privilege, and we're thankful for all those in the military and the many others who have made that possible, and we remember them with thanksgiving as we gather here tonight. We pray also for all the celebrations that will happen here in our city this weekend, that they would be safe, that there would be a real atmosphere of neighboring and excitement and respect and care and safety, Lord, that you would just bless all that happens this weekend as we celebrate the 4th of July. And we pray that you would bless this meeting and all the proceedings and conversations that are about to take place, that you would guide and direct all that happens here. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and we appreciate Minister Dickerson, your concert of prayer that you offered this evening. Please tell your husband and beautiful daughters I said hello. Yes, ma'am. So we'll go with the announcements and presentations, and I'll just go through the protocol for the meeting this evening, and then we'll get into our agenda, which is printed outside or on the screen. I would like to welcome you to the City of Douglasville's legislative work session. This is a work session where agenda items are presented for discussion and no official action will take place. Official action will be taken on these items next Tuesday, July the 7th at 6 p.m. If the business you are here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the agenda item comments from Citizens and Delegates section for you to discuss your business. I would ask that you would please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You receive a warning from the chair, and if you deviate from this requirement, a second deviation will result in you just continuing to speak this evening. Only one person speaking at a time. Please do not applaud or react to speakers, speak from the audience, cheer, or carry on conversations in the audience, or be disruptive during the meeting. I'll remind you that we're only required to accept public comments during the required public hearings for zoning matters. If you have a cell phone or any social media device, we ask that you please put those in silent mode or turn those off until after the meeting. And the agenda items will be handled in the following manner. The committee chairperson will read the agenda item, then that person representing the agenda item or applicant will make his or her presentation, and myself and council members will possibly will ask questions that will help us understand the item more clearly. After that, the committee chairperson will ask for comments or statements from the audience. During this public hearing for those items that are zoning matters, there are 20 minutes for those to speak in favor and 20 minutes for those to speak in opposition. Each person has 5 minutes apiece. Prior to coming to the podium, there are cards that are outside on the desk. We ask that you would please fill those cards out. And when you come to the podium, give your name and address for the record. And you can please pass the card over to our city clerk, Ms. Vicki Acker, to my right. Each person has one opportunity to speak. No reappearances. This is not a question and answer or debate format. We're just here to receive the information and help us to make our determination on next Tuesday. Please address your comments to the chair. And if you have any printed material, we ask that you would please give that printed material to our city clerk and she will disseminate it to us. Again, if there are agenda items that are not listed that you have questions or comments about, you can come after during the portion of citizens and delegates, and you have 5 minutes to speak to us at that point. Now we will go on with the meeting and the agenda, which is printed outside or it's above us on the screen. The first committee is Economic Development Committee, and that's chaired by our Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one item tonight under the Economic Development Committee, and that is to authorize the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Georgia Department of Community Affairs to continue the city's participation in the Georgia Classic Main Street program. Ms. Brianna Watts will give us a little discussion about that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Brianna Watts, Main Street Coordinator, 6701 Church Street. So every year, the city enters this MOU with the Georgia Department of Community Affairs to allow us to continue participating in the Georgia Classic Main Street program, to use the Main Street name and logo. So we're just asking to continue to be able to do this every year. Well, this year.
Thank you, Ms. Watts. Anybody on council have any questions or comments? Mayor, you have something?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Ms. Brianna, good to see you again this evening. What's the theme? Do they have a theme yet for Main Street? I know every year they have a theme for across the state.
Yes, we haven't had anything come out yet.
Okay.
I think that usually comes out in August, so maybe in August, but we don't have anything yet.
Okay, just wondering. I was getting excited to see what the theme was going to be so I can try to match it with flowers or something. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any other questions, comments? I will say that I think our mainstream program has come a long way over the years. I served on the Downtown Development Authority. I think we were not much more than a garden club at the time. I think that was about all we could do. But we've done some very exciting things with the Main Street program since then. So, and Ms. Watts, I've heard very good things about her as well. So thank you for all the hard work you do. If there are no other comments and if there's no objections, I'd like to place this item on the consent agenda for Tuesday evening's meeting. That's all I have, Madam Mayor, under the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you so much, Ms. Watts. We'll move on to the next committee, which is Housing and Community Affairs Committee. The vice chair is Councilmember Mark Adams.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, under Housing and Community Affairs, we do not have any business tonight.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Chair. We'll move on then to Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Business at this time, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilman Davis. Personnel and Organization Committee, chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We
You're
have
welcome.
one item tonight under Personnel and Organization. Rescind the June 21st, 2021 authorization of the mayor to sign the Second Amendment to the Medical Services Agreement with Primus Health Employer Solutions LLC to provide on-site medical services to the city employees' dependents, and authorize the mayor to sign the Second Amendment to the Medical Services Agreement for this purpose with Care Here Management, PLLC. Ms. Woodward will handle this.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman Watts. Do I need to introduce myself? Lynn Woodward, 6695 Church Street. This item was a contract to provide medical services to employees' dependents. Previously, when the first go-around, the contract, the other party was Premise Health Employer Solutions. They were going through like a name change or a merger with Care Here Management, but it's been recently revealed to us that Care Here, they haven't completely migrated their contracts from Care Here to Premise Health yet. So the correct party to this amendment still remains Care Here Management. So this is a housekeeping item to straighten out the parties on the contract.
Okay, any questions or comments? Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Woodward, didn't I already sign the contract?
You did, but the party that's to the contract should be Care Here, not Premise, because they're not ready to change everything to Premise yet. It still remains Care Here.
Okay, so we'll just, when you rescind it, you'll do another contract and put Care Here and have
That
me
is
sign that
correct.
one? Okay, just making sure I understood. Thank you.
And then eventually, when the name change takes effect, we'll go
I have
back
to go back and change it again.
again.
Yeah.
But the services will still,
Right, the services will still carry over. It's just their name change. They don't want to be called Care Here anymore.
okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, anybody else? All right, I'd like to place this on the consent agenda for Tuesday. No objections? Thank you. Madam Mayor, that's all we had tonight under Personnel and Organization.
Thank you so much, Coach. We'll move on then to the next committee. And there are several items. Planning and Development Committee, that's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have
Welcome.
several items tonight under Planning and Development. We will begin with item A that was tabled on June 21st, 2021. Hold a public hearing, consider a request for a change in zoning from R3 Single Family Residential Detached to General Commercial District for 3.63 acres at 5626 Highway 92 in Land Lot 53, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 49. Application by Noel DeMello, care of Hakeem Hilliard. Ms. Williams is going to handle that item for us. Thank you, Ms. Williams.
All right, Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. As Councilman Adams said, this item was tabled at the June 21st meeting. The subject property is located at 5626 Highway 92. The property is currently zoned single-family detached. The applicant seeks to develop an 84-room hotel along with an 8,400 square feet multi-use building with 86 on-site parking spaces for the hotel and 42 spaces for the multi-use building. The hotel is adjacent to I-20. If approved by Mayor and Council, staff recommends the following conditions: an indoor pool, minimum of 250 square feet dedicated to a fitness center with modern equipment, a lobby, interior hallways, and a business meeting room.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Appreciate those comments. This being a public hearing, we do need to give time for the applicant and then for anyone speaking either for or against, ample time to state their case. I would request that we do this with new information only and in the essence of time. So at this time, I'll allow the applicant to come forward, identify yourself, please, and provide us with any new information that you may have. Thank you.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Kavita Purohit. I'm from 1 Glen Lake Parkway, Suite 650 in Atlanta, Georgia, 30328. I just heard the comments made. I'm assuming these are the comments from the council, or are they just the staff recommendations? This is, new information to me, so I'm just trying to understand.
I won't speak for Ms. Williams, but I would say that staff has prepared a list of recommendations that we think, we feel as though would then cause the property to be used for a hotel. And these are basically inert parts of a hotel and the way it would be operated with those amenities included that would hopefully prevent it from being used as something other than that.
So as far as I recollect from Ms. Williams' list, I think she said that it should be an interior lobby, yeah, so which is fine, which is what we intended for it to be, an interior corridor. Did you say a 250 square foot exercise facility? Okay, that's a little larger than what we would have thought, but that's fine. We can live with that. And then you have a pool, just a regular indoor pool. Okay, so an indoor pool would not be justified at this location, because an indoor pool can only be justified if the ADR, the average daily rate, is a minimum of $150. A indoor swimming pool is a huge cost initially, but that's not the big issue. The big issue is the continuous management of that indoor pool, because of the moisture that gets into the walls and the wood, and it's just a lot of mold issue, and it costs at least $100,000 a year just to maintain an indoor swimming pool. And if you don't get at least $150 per night, you cannot support it. It's impossible to support an indoor swimming pool at a location that on an average would do only $104 a night. It's not feasible to support it. Plus, it just has all that moisture, the dehumidification. I think there's a company called Decton that does that, and we've had that before at property, and it's a nightmare. That equipment, you have to constantly keep up with it, and you have to constantly replace it, because you have to dehumidify. This is a huge body of water that's just evaporating. The water is evaporating constantly, so all that humidity gets to inside the building, and then you have rooms about the swimming pool which are going to be affected by that. So it affects also the structural integrity of the building. So that's the indoor swimming pool is something that couldn't be feasible, and in general, even it just wouldn't make sense for this kind of an ADR for sure.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything? What other requirements, Ms. Williams, just to make sure that everyone understands anything that might have been missed there?
Just a business meeting room.
Oh, business meeting room. Yeah, that's something we can add to the layout. Definitely, that's something that can be added. So we can make the correction of putting in a business meeting room. We can make the correction of putting in an exercise room, and we can make sure that there is a lobby in the front, and that it is an interior corridor. All of those are definitely elements that we can incorporate and agree to. But the indoor swimming pool just is financially impossible to incorporate. It just wouldn't make any financial sense to do that.
Okay.
And like I said, also structural. I mean, it's just a huge liability from every angle that you can think of. And I would also like to ask the staff and the council as to what was the reasoning behind an indoor swimming pool. I mean, it's not like anybody else has it, or it's a very upscale amenity that very few hotels have. So what was the reasoning behind thinking that a indoor swimming pool would be necessary?
It's just a recommended stipulation.
Okay.
Questions, comments? Madam Mayor?
I do have a question, Mr. Chairman. Do we address the kitchenette? I know that was another concern that was brought up, or that was not one of the recommendations that went forward?
Was not one of the recommendations
Okay.
of the staff.
All right, thank you.
Others? Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I think a lot of this came out of discussions we were having over the concerns of extended stay hotels, and so we were trying to find a way of balancing the value of what you're intending to build on the location. So I hope you understand that, we had staff study what various elements will bring value. Obviously, we want you to make money. We want you to build something that's quality, of quality construction, quality design. And so we got into some issues about, and as our city manager pointed out, the extended stay is not quite what a lot of people think it is. So that's why we were sort of taking the requirements out of the rooms, putting them into the hotel as a whole. So I don't know how the rest of the council feels about the swimming pool requirement. I mean, personally, I understand where you're coming from as far as that goes. That kind of creates a different element within the hotel. I suppose that we could compromise on that by upsizing some of the other elements that we're requiring, like a larger conference room, larger gymnasium. Those are more empty. No, I say empty. They're dumber spaces. They don't require as much equipment and as much infrastructure into the hotel. So that may be, if everyone's on board with that idea, that may be a potential compromise to up the size of the gym, the meeting rooms, a lobby, and so forth, in place of the pool. Because I don't know that a lot of people even do use hotel pools these days or not, but those are my thoughts. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Great points. Others?
Mr. Chairman, I do
Yes,
know
go ahead.
there is a pool outside of certain hotels in the city of Douglasville. Econo Lodge is one that comes to mind instantly. So would that be something amenable to you if it's not outside, inside, it could be outside?
An outside swimming pool is something that can be added. I would not prefer to have that as a limitation, but if that was the only thing that we could agree on, definitely an outside pool is a lot. It's still a huge maintenance, but, and it's not that many people use it, because when we have seen at other properties, it's not an amenity that people are that crazy about. Also, we're trying to attract the people that come in only for a day or two. They don't have really any time to swim. They're coming here for a purpose. They want to get on about, do their job, come back, go to sleep, and so they're not there for vacationing. If this was a resort or, something like that, I can definitely understand that that's what people would do. But most of the people are in and out. They don't really care for a swimming pool because they don't have time for a swimming pool. Exercise room, yes, maybe that may be a good recommendation by the staff, because, maybe people do want to exercise in the morning.
Right.
Some people do wake up at 5 o'clock and exercise or come back in the evening and exercise. So exercise room, yes, absolutely makes sense. Most people just don't want to go through the trouble of, going and swimming on a business trip. It's just not the thing that they do. So that's why I feel that if it was imposed, we would do it, an exterior pool, but it may not, it may just be a waste of money.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Madam
Chairman.
Mayor. Mr. Davis?
Yes, do you have any more property hotels?
We do. We have, as you probably know, 60% of the hotels are owned by Indians, and we have a lot of family that we work with that have hotels. But this would be our first property where we are totally independently doing it. We have always been partners with other family members. This time, it's my husband and my son and myself, the three of us would be.
So are you a member of the Econo Lodge?
No, we don't have the Econo.
Yeah, Econo Lodge have a small pool outside.
Right. I'm sure, it's
Yeah.
possible. No, we
I
don't
think
have
it'd be
the-
nice if you did a pool outside.
Right. Like I said, if that's something that the city really wants us to do, that's something that we can add to it.
Thank you. Other comments?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Councilman Estes.
I'm falling in line with Mayor Pro Tem. I think I totally understand where you're coming from on an indoor pool.
Right.
And I will not go in an indoor pool as a rule, just because it's not comfortable and it smells and it's
That's
all
true.
chlorine and and I don't generally use outdoor pools when I'm traveling either. So I much prefer the idea of increasing the size and the caliber of the meeting room and the gym. and I'm not concerned about a pool.
I appreciate it.
Councilwoman Miller?
Sure. I would like to thank you for being so open and receptive to our ask. And staff, I would like to thank you guys for working so hard on coming up with these recommendations for us. I definitely am in agreement with these recommendations, and I do understand your concerns with the indoor pool, and I completely understand with what Mr. Estes is saying, and that may not be the way to go either. I know that a lot of our hotels here in Douglasville do have pools, and although while I may not want to swim in those pools, I know that when traveling with family, and it may not be a destination spot, but oftentimes I have friends who actually come out here for baseball tournaments and stuff, and you end up in these hotels with your kids, and you don't want to be stuck in those small hotel rooms with your kids the whole time. Right. No offense, I know that we love them, but it is a nice amenity to have our hotels. And if it's something that we can do, I would really like to see us be able to work to do that together. That would be great.
Right, so definitely, if that's, an ask, then, I mean, we could add an outdoor pool, definitely.
Coming from the family aspect of it, and knowing that you do have families out there with children, it definitely can be a good amenity to have for those.
Right.
I would say.
Yeah, it does tire them out, so.
Yes, sleep good,
Yeah,
yes. Thank
definitely.
you, and that is all.
Thank you. Coach Watt?
I just Councilwoman Miller said pretty much what I was going to say. I think that as we attract families to Douglasville with the different things that are going on in Douglasville, we're going to, a couple years from now, we're going to have an amphitheater, people travel with their kids. I raised 4 myself. I would love to find a $104 a night hotel that also had an outdoor swimming pool. So those, it's a nice amenity. I know we're talking a lot about indoor, outdoor pool, but anyway, I like the list that the staff came up with, and I'm not arguing with that, but I think, I would not mind discussing the possibility of an outdoor pool because there's a number of hotels in Douglasville that have outdoor pools. So anyway, that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, do you have any other comments, ma'am?
No,
I wanted
that's
to.
fine. I mean, our intention is to make the city happy. We want a long-term relationship with the city. So, yeah, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
So basically, you're saying that you don't have a problem in agreeing with the other conditions that we have discussed. If we could go from an indoor pool to an outdoor pool, you would be acceptable to that?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak concerning the application with new information, either for or against? I thank you. I'll close that portion of the public hearing, and we will take this up on Monday then.
Okay.
We thank you very much. Appreciate your willingness to work with us. Thank you, staff.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
point of order, I don't know, maybe I.
Is your mic
Did we
on?
take it off, officially take it off the table tonight?
When we vote on it, we'll do that on Monday.
We'll do that on Monday. Okay.
On Tuesday, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Coach.
Thank you.
Any other information on that item? Okay. We'll go on to item B. Hold a public hearing and consider a request for a variance to reduce the required 50-foot front setback in Section 503B of the Unified Development Ordinance for a variance of 40 feet for a remaining requirement of 10 feet on the east and west side of a lot of 98.79 acres at Georgia Highway 5 and Bright Star Connector in Land Lot 159, District 2, Section 5, Parcel 31. Application by S.L. Douglas Place, LLC. Ms. Williams?
Okay. HRC, Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. HRC is seeking development of an industrial and distribution project for property located at Bright Star Connector for Silverman Phase 5 for 98 acres at Bright Star Connector. In 2019, the subject property was granted a request for a change in zoning to office distribution to light industrial. This item goes with item 21-310 and 21-311. Due to the topography, wetland streams, and pipeline easement, and the fact that the area was used as farmland, the applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the required 50 feet front setback to 10 feet on the east and west side. We've had conversations with the applicant. Here are some conditions that staff is recommending. If you approve this request, Staff recommends that the item be approved with the conditions that the development receives approval and all required permits from all applicable federal, state, and local governmental agencies. This would include the U.S. Corps of Engineers, State of Georgia EPD, Douglasville and Douglas County Water and Sewer Authority, to disturb the existing wetland streams and creeks located upon the subject property.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Appreciate that. I see that Mr. Ray is with us, and I'm sure he has information he'd like to share, and I would like to hear what that is. I don't guess I have ever seen a variance of this size requested, but I think I understand. How are you, Howard?
I'm doing well, sir. How about yourself? Howard Ray, HRC engineer, 6554 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia. Like I say, I'll try not to stray into the other two items, but they sort of work together. Several things I'd like to point out relative to this site so you understand the design concept and what we're trying to achieve here. You know, one of them is obviously to minimize the impacts to the environmental conditions, but additionally, it's also to address traffic on Bright Star Road. So, as you may or may not remember, as part of Phase 4, we are installing a roundabout on the connector. Additionally, as part of the conditions of the DRI and the city, we will be installing a red light at the connector and Bright Star Road. So one of the thoughts, or one of the strategies we use as land planners and engineers to slow traffic is to sort of restrict their eyes, and that's done through landscaping. It's done through bringing buildings close to the road. You know, because if you can't see forever, you don't drive as fast. You know, think about yourself. You're on a local road where there's a bunch of cars on the side of the road, the houses are up. Think about how cautious you are versus being on an interstate where you can see for you know, very wide areas. So we've sort of adopted the more Urban Design Institute recommendations in the LCI thought process to bring the buildings up. So basically, along my site plan, you'll see basically, I think it's 5 squares. Those are basically going to be office buildings. We are projecting them to be 2 stories minimum. Obviously, I don't know right now the exact height limitations, but you know, could go higher than that. But you know, basically trying to bring that up. There'd be side entries. Parkings would be on the side, but we want to try to create that streetscape down the connector. Additionally, one of the things that it helps me with here is we have about 100, and I think it's 100, I'll say 100, I'll be safe there. From the road elevation to I-20 in the low spots, about 100-foot elevation difference, okay? Moving a lot of dirt. But basically what's going to happen is the site from the connector is going to step down, okay? So one of the things, for instance, the box in the back, that finished floor is 15 to 18 feet lower than the connector, okay? So by getting that 2-story building in there, by getting that landscaping along the connector, you know, we're going to basically create a, that's going to look more like a walkable city versus a more office distribution facility. So that's what we're trying to achieve there. You may or may not remember that this was brought up during zoning by some of the council members about, you know, let's look at that opportunity. So I'll stop on that one before I bleed into C and D.
Thank you, Howard. Appreciate that. Okay, we do have a public hearing. I do want to give opportunity for Madam Mayor and for the council to ask questions of Mr. Ray concerning this, and then we will open the floor for other comments. Does anyone have any question or comment of Mr. Ray concerning this?
I have some comments about the design, which I can make so we get to the next couple of
I'm surprised, Mr. Miller, when you go from a 50-foot setback on the street to 10, and I know basically that means moving the buildings up to the front.
I am very encouraged by the site plan, I have to say that.
Why am I not surprised? That's great. Anyone have any questions?
I have one question.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir, Mr. Ray, very impressive. Did you say it's going to have more of the urban look?
Right, that's the thought process. You know, it's not, this, what I'm about to make reference to is not a commercial office area, but you know, if you think about going into the tributary, right? You see landscaping, excuse excuse me, it's allergy season for me, so I apologize. You know, you come in, you see the street line with trees, you see the sidewalks, you know, the houses pulled up. So that is the look we're trying to create on the connector.
Right.
You know, one of the things we're doing, for instance, with the roundabout and some of the other improvements we'll be doing along the actual road, is we're pulling out, you know, at the roundabout, we don't need left turns anymore at the roundabout. So what are we doing? We're creating some landscape strips actually in the middle of that concrete, I'm gonna try to be nice here, swath of concrete, stop there, Howard. You know, trying to break it up, you know. It's not an interstate, it was built like an interstate. I'm trying to remove that sign and thought process.
I like that, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Coach Watts.
So the setback is more about what's going on at the front of this property as opposed to stuff that's coming up in C and D.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so it's not, this particular request is not designed to offset other things that will be going on the property that we'll be talking about in a minute.
That's correct.
I would add to that, if I could use that to help, I would, but with the pipeline that goes through, there's not a whole lot I can do there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Others? Okay, is there anyone here that would speak, this being a public hearing, for or against this item as far as a variance? If so, please come forward. Give us your name and address for the record, and we'd love to hear from you. Anyone? Seeing none, then we will close that portion of the public hearing, and we will take this item up on Monday. Go on to item C, hold a public hearing and consider a request for a variance to reduce the required 50-foot stream buffer, section 9.01E1 of the Unified Development Ordinance, for a variance of 50 feet for a remaining requirement of 0 feet on the north and south side of a lot, and 2, a variance to reduce the required 75-foot stream buffer in section 9.01E2 of the Unified Development Ordinance for a variance of 75 feet, for a remaining requirement of 0 feet on the north and south side of a lot of 98.79 acres at Georgia Highway 5 and Bright Star Connector in land lot 159, District 2, Section 5, Parcel 31. Application by S.L. Douglas Place, LLC. Ms. Williams?
Okay, Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. Because these items are all connected, I'm going to go ahead and defer to the applicant, but I would like to say that we'd like to add these same conditions that I read previously to this item as well. But at this time, I'll defer unless you have any questions for staff.
And Ms. Williams, I know that you have read those, and I understand why you have read them, possibly that they may not all apply to each item, but some of those items that you have read apply to each of them. Would you just reiterate those that you are concerned about under this item, please?
So for the conditions?
Yes.
Okay. So staff recommends that the item be approved with the condition that the development receives approval and all required permits from all applicable federal, state, and local governmental agencies to disturb the existing wetland streams, creeks located upon the subject property. And we're referring to the Corps of Engineers, the State of Georgia EPD, along with the Douglasville, Douglas County Water Authority.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Questions, council, Madam Mayor? Yes, Coach.
I'll wait for Madam Mayor, and then I'll.
No, sir, I'm fine.
Go ahead, Coach.
I just, you know, I see this setback is for the 70 feet to 0 feet request, and it's described as a stream. I haven't been on this property, so I'm trying to picture, when I picture a stream or a creek or something like that, if this is just a spring or, and I'm also trying to imagine the WSA and Army Corps engineers weighing in on this, but I guess I'm gonna have to just take a look at it between now and next week, but I was curious as to what we're talking about here as far as body of water.
That's a good question, Coach.
Yeah, I'll defer to the applicant on that one.
Okay.
come up, Mr. Ray, and I'll go ahead, I'll let you have the opportunity to give us your information, and then I'm sure we'll have a question about that very item. Go ahead.
All right, Howard Ray, HRC Engineer, 6554 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia. Yeah, so basically, as you can see in the site plan, we have a significant amount of impacts. We've actually got a consultant that's been working on this, and we have had Army Corps on the site twice, and we've actually had 3 phone calls with Georgia EPD. I don't remember the section, but it's Michael Berry. He's basically the one that handles stream variances. So through walking the site, we had some concerns as HRC that these creeks may even be larger than what we show here. And through working with Army Corps and EPD, they basically said that they were more, there's an old farm pond. So that was one of the things that was leading that. A lot of it was drainage, but they consider them not, I don't know the words, I'm gonna call it high integrity streams. So they basically has more or less told us they do not see any objections as we file for the Army Corps permit and the stream buffer, state stream buffer variance 2.0 to fill these creeks. One of the other reasons is that this is Anawake is a creek that is on the 303D list in Douglas County, which means it's impaired. That impaired section is downstream, if I had to guess, a couple miles from the mall. So we will, when you're in those impaired streams, you have to do additional things to try to protect your runoff, not just from a flooding situation, but sedimentation and other pollutants. So we'll have to meet all those. But I guess the biggest thing I will tell you is that the Corps gave our consultant a warm enough feeling that they would support what we're proposing, that we have approximately $1.8 million in mitigation credits already reserved.
In essence, are we talking about redirecting or moving the stream or eliminating it?
In both. How about that? So I don't know if you have this in front of you.
We do.
So basically, under the building in that middle section, those would be eliminated because we would be cutting off the drainage area that runs to them. Those are primarily where drainage has worked down through there over the years, where it's been timbered and farmed, and it's basically undercut, and now you've had the groundwater come up, which is basically taking what most of us grew up calling a dry ditch that now is called, you know, a creek, but there is running water in these. You know, we'll be doing some undercutting and doing some French drains and things like that so that if groundwater stays up like that, it'll move out. Over to the left, the creek that comes in from the west side, that will actually be piped, but not done away with. But where the building is, we would actually take storm drainage around each end and into our stormwater management facilities. Whereas on that west side, we would actually intercept that water and potentially divert some of it with site drainage into another stormwater facility, water quality facility, before we discharged it back into the creek.
And where exactly is that creek headed? Like, what you're going to divert, where is that headed?
Yeah, so if you're on Douglas Boulevard, where the car lot is, and I can't remember what's across the street, maybe across the creek is the maybe the storage, and then Sam and Roscoe's, and then on the other side is the center and the liquor store. So that goes through there. So between Douglas Boulevard and I-20, that creek has already been straightened out by, I won't say who, but you can look at it in an aerial, and it's a graded ditch now. I mean, it looks like the drainage ways you see in California, except it's not paved. So it's already been impacted there. There's no movement of the creek. You know, it's definitely man-made. How about that? But so it goes to there, then it drains down behind. Make sure I'm getting my locations right, so bear with me. And so that's on the east side of the center, so it turns from the center and runs down behind the post office, down behind Crossroads, Church. Trying to think where it comes out at 5, but it's got to be somewhere there around Kroger. Probably Kroger, Arbor Station probably is my guess right now. I haven't looked at it recently, but running in that direction.
So we're not talking about an environmental impact here, or at least Army Corps of Engineers indicated that what you're planning to do, what you would like to do, was not going to have an environmental impact, I guess, on that area and the down the stream, you know, that'll continue to flow.
Correct. They agree with our concept and what we're proposing because of where it is in the basin, which we're on the very top end, and the other areas that's already been impacted. They do not feel that this will have any adverse effect to the water quality and/or stream properties downstream at all. And we as engineers will have to prove that out, should they, because they could come back and say, we want you to do these A, B, C, D, E engineering things inside your design, so we'll have to prove to them. But you know, conceptually, with what they've seen, they have not said we are concerned at not granting this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Have you had any discussions with the Corps about how big a pipe you're going to have to use or culvert?
On the west side, we've done some quick analysis, but it's not significant. You know, because of this being at the very top of the basin, the parts under the building, there won't actually be a culvert like the mall. I'm sure, you know, I mean, you know each other for a long time. You were around when they put those big box culverts under the mall. You know, so this part underneath the building, we would not have a pipe under the building at all. If it's anything, it'd be more foundational drainage.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Ooh, Mr. Ray, the more you explain, the more concerned I get. Let me see.
Well, that's just engineer.
I know. You're being very thorough. I guess when Mr. Chairman had Ms. Williams reiterate that all the requirements had to go through Army Corps of Engineers, EPD, and WSA, that gives me some more level of comfort, because like Mr. Dotson just said about a culvert or a pipe or the detention center, detention pond or retention pond, it just seems like, I know the water has to go somewhere. So if you're eliminating it, you know, WSA has more stringent rules than the Army Corps for streams, rivers, lakes. So whatever they determine it is, I guess they'll make all those, and I'm part of WSA, make all those recommendations for the council. So that gives me some comfort, but it's a lot.
Yes.
Yes, sir. The water has to go somewhere.
And I would say that WSA staff has been involved in the process and understanding what we're trying to work through.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Continuing along that line of reasoning, you're adding about 1.2 million square feet of roof on top of however many acres of parking. Is the parking going to be pervious or impervious?
It'll be impervious.
Okay. So I'm assuming, as a good civil engineer, you've taken all those calculations into account, but I'm only seeing a very small, what I'm assuming the squiggly area down the bottom is the retention area? Is it some sort of retention pond at that
No,
point?
that's actually the creeks. Well, I'm not sure, assuming we're looking at the same, and I don't know that we are. But I can walk you through where they're at if you'd like.
Yeah, where is the retention area for this?
One thing we did with Phase 4 across the street is we actually turned probably 15 acres of drainage that came this way back towards 5. I'm sorry, yeah, 5. Now, whenever you turn water, you basically have to eat it. Okay, you can't send it that way, else you'd create flooding. Okay, but we knew we needed to restrict it this way because of what we're dealing with here, as well as the culvert underneath the interstate, which is undersized. So that was one piece of the puzzle. On site, we've got a couple of different facilities. So along the face of the building, in the truck drive aisle, we have, I think what I saw today was a plus or minus 72-inch pipe. Along the drive aisle in the rear of the building is plus or minus a 72-inch pipe. Over on the east side where the auto parking, employee parking is, that has, I think, 4 or 5 different runs of about 48-inch pipe. And then in the green area or in the vacant area between the auto parking and the property line and driveway to Academy is basically going to be a significant pond.
So that's all, you've got all that as underground retention. The pipe
Yes,
you're describing is all underground retention.
so we have a pond, but then all that piping will be linked to it to act as one system. So that's the primary system. Now, if you look over here in the bottom left, or that would be the southwest, where those creeks work through out of Bright Star Road, we will have an underground facility there that we're still trying to design right there. That one will most likely be a system that's more rainfall reduction, which grand scheme of things, it says the first inch of water that hits the site, you got to basically soak back in. So the pond will do that, and then this site will do that. So that'll be the 2 primary systems that we work on this development.
Okay. All right, I have another question, but I'll wait for the next item to ask that. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
I did forget, I apologize. There is a second pond that, I'm sorry, it just hit me. It's so small, it doesn't really matter in my mind. There's, in that little triangle right there along the interstate.
That's the one that shows up on.
Small pond
That's the
there.
only one you can see.
Yes,
on.
that's what it says.
Yep, apologize.
Mr. Ray, I'm going to assume, and please correct me, that none of these streams run through the property. They're all originating on the property, and so the headwaters is actually on this property? Is that basically, from the way you're sounding, as though, from what it appears, it doesn't appear that the stream flows across Bright Star Connector, but it seems as though it heads up, for lack of a better term, on this site?
I would say the true answer would be no, and that the two in the middle of the site are starting on ours, so the headwaters are on us. The stuff coming from Bright Star Road that sort of works through the parking, that is flowing. Now, both of them are a foot and a half wide, but, you know, because the headwaters there is Bright Star Road.
Okay.
So it's only 250 feet, you know, to Bright Star to where
Yes,
it
sir.
actually hits our property.
Okay.
But those actually flow through.
All right, so basically then, what the request would be, it would be subject to everything that Ms. Williams has mentioned in those conditions. And Mayor, and to your point, our approval, if given, would be conditioned upon a higher power, giving their approval prior to. Or if they receive those, then ours is in place. If not, then ours is null and void. Is that correct? Is that how this is written, Council?
That would be correct. You know, the WSA is in charge of stormwater. But of course, after 100-year rain, you guys get all the costs.
True that.
Since in the last 40 years, you've had 200-year rains, one 500-year rain.
They're becoming
And the
20-year
one
rains very
common
quickly.
denominator from all that is that all the pipes, everybody said were plenty big, way too small.
For that 500-year plan, yes.
That's my only comment.
Yes, sir. Okay. Did you have something else?
Yeah,
Mr. Ray?
so one of the reasons we're here asking for this right now is, if you'll remember back to West Pines Golf, you know, I basically have to have the letter from the city saying that y'all were agreeable to this, with the assumption we get all these other approvals, so I can formally file to Georgia EPD for the stream buffer, state
Yes.
buffer reduction.
I understand.
So this is a step in the cog I gotta turn.
Good point. Council, any other question or comment? Okay, we need to open the floor then for public. Is there anyone here that would like to speak concerning this item? It being a public hearing, to give opportunity either for or against. Please come forward and give us your name and address for the record, and we'd love to hear from you. How are you this evening, Ms. Fulton?
I'm good. How are you, Mr. Adams?
Good, good.
Thank you all very much for letting me speak tonight. Having once been in the position that you all are in tonight on the county side, I very much appreciate how difficult these zoning decisions can be. And the more I listened, like Madam Mayor, the more concerns that I have about y'all facing this decision. My understanding, the reason for instituting regulations regarding buffers and creeks on wetlands is to protect our water supply. And Douglasville, Douglas County, the Water and Sewer Authority have done a great job of that up to this point, providing with a generous supply of good water. But I feel we can't start making exceptions to potentially affect that good water supply. The proposed construction for 1.2 million square feet, why can't they build a slightly smaller development so they don't have to request these variances? We live on Slater Mill, oh, I forgot to tell you, 5317 Slater Mill Circle, Douglasville, Georgia.
And I forgot to stop you. I'm sorry.
We live on Slater Mill Creek and have lived through one of those 100-year or 500-year floods, and have seen over the last 30 years how development has impacted that creek, and where there's just barely a trickle of water going through it now. So my confidences in the EPD and so forth are not real high. The challenges for this property have been there since it was purchased, so they should have been well aware of what they were facing with wetlands and the gas pipeline and so forth. Personally, I don't think we have a need for another distribution facility. The intersection at Concourse Parkway and Highway 5 is already a nightmare. So how many additional vehicles are going to be coming? And maybe they've already been granted, and maybe I'm too late to the game on this, but how many additional vehicle trips are going to be trying to go through that Highway 5 Concourse Parkway intersection going to Interstate 20? Those trucks that are coming in there have got to go someplace, and I'm assuming for the most part it's Interstate 20. So when I called P&Z today, they couldn't tell me how many truck trips that they were expecting to increase that. So all of that trucks is only going to exacerbate that situation there for traffic concerns now. So all in all, it doesn't seem to me that this is a desirable use of this property, and I would appreciate you taking all of these into consideration.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fulton. Others? Anyone else? Anyone would like to speak either for or against the project, please come forward. Seeing no other person, then I will close that portion of the public hearing. Is there any other comment before we move on?
Just real quick.
Go ahead, Coach.
Looking at the site plan that you held up a minute ago, we have it on our tablets. It looks like there's a lot of parking lot there around this building, and I'm just, somebody can maybe refresh my memory. What is WSA's requirements as far as holding ponds per whatever, I don't know what they base that on. I'm looking, I know you tried to point out to Mayor Pro Tem Miller, one that was on here. I don't see where they're located, but I do see a lot of paved surface, so I'm kind of curious about that. And plus, it was pointed out the 1.2 million square foot roof, a lot of water is going to come off of that. So I just was curious, looking at this site plan, I don't see, usually we plainly see where the holding ponds would be, but I'm just not seeing them.
If it's excuse me, if it's okay, I'll do a little quick sketch and I'll submit it for y'all to sort of see it.
I'll allow that. I think
I mean,
it's
the
a good
drawing
question.
I've got, it's not exactly yours, so, but this might make it a little clearer. How about that?
How many parking spaces?
If you'll look under, Coach, if you'll look under the little legend on the bottom right, it'll tell you the number of car, truck, spaces. It'll tell you the total load and also the amount of square footage versus the overall area, the amount of square footage for proposed buildings.
For some reason, mine is blurred. But
Mine is blurry, too.
Yes, I'm sorry. Mine is clear, so go ahead, Mr. Ray. We can take a moment for that.
Who would you like for me to give this to? Okay. So there's my above ground ponds that look like a conventional pond, and this will be all oversized piping underground.
So basically, Mr. Ray, you're saying it'd be underground retention similar to what we have here on this site?
There'll be a good portion of it, yes, sir.
Based upon what is required as far as hydrology, for stormwater runoff from the site, to the site, through the site. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Mayor. Coach, did you get your question answered?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
I understand, obviously, your engineering calculations are based on the site. How far beyond do you take any consideration beyond the site for water retention? I mean, because one of the problems that we've had with the 100 and the 500-year floods is that there's a cumulative effect. It's one thing to calculate out perfectly the water runoff for a site that's X by Y, but we've had problems. When you add this site to the next site over to the site after that and the site after that, throughout the city, you start to have a much larger problem when it comes to water runoff. How do you take that into account?
Yeah, so WSA code, what's actually a North Georgia Planning District code, is basically to study 10% downstream. So our site we're talking about is roughly 100 acres. The drainage basin that my client controls is closer to 120 acres that comes this way. So we have to study basically 1,200 acres. And every pipe that it goes through, we have to do an analysis. And in that analysis, we talk about what the existing conditions of that pipe are. So let's say it's undersized. Case in point, the culvert underneath I-20 is undersized, okay? So we analyze that, and we basically have to show that in a 100-year event, if that pipe's flowing full, how far the water backs up, right? And so then we have to show in our analysis of what we do that comes down, that we actually reduce that flooding. Should the pipe actually convey the flow, there again, we have to show that we have sent less water to that culvert. And that's, for this particular site, is plus or minus 1,200 acres that we've had to study. I don't remember exactly where our downstream point is, to be honest with you. We're still sort of working through that part. But that's one of the pieces of the puzzle. I think one of the other protective things about this site, and I can prove it to you very easily, you know, I don't want to get too technical, why this culvert's undersized on I-20. If you look at the FEMA floodplain, on the other side of the interstate where they've graded the creek, it might be 30, 40 feet wide. When you come up on our property, it's monstrous. And what it is that water's hitting that culvert, backing up and ponding. So in a storm event, we're getting basically a lake in that lower area that we're sort of keeping everything out of, okay? So one of the challenges we've had is that we have to reduce the water going to that culvert to get rid of that pond of water in 100 years, which is not really a pond. The backwater is what they call it, okay? So that's made us reduce it down even further, okay? Now, as we all know, if I have one 5-gallon bucket of water, that water don't disappear. It's got to release. So all we really do is we just release it slower. Okay, so if I have this deluge of water coming in, but I've got to reduce what's going out, my reservoir becomes bigger. Hence, I bought this piping underneath the paving. So that's how we offset it. Additionally, one of the things that got rolled out in December that WSA adopted from the state is rainfall reduction. So prior to December, we took the first 1.5 inches of 1.2 inches of water that hit the site, and we had to treat it. We had to, what they call water quality provisions. Well, now we have to start with the rainfall reduction, which is basically to infiltrate it. Whereas for the last 10 years, we've taken the water, we've treated it, we've polished it up, prettied it up, and then we send it on its way. Now we've got to soak it in. So the theory is that if we can get it back into the groundwater, those lower storm events, which is the actually the most problematic in the state of Georgia, is the 2-year event and lower, because that's what creates bank caving. It scours from the bottom of the creeks. And if you've ever walked the creek, you'll see how the bank overhangs. It slopes. Now the creek's here. It starts doing this again. Then it does this. And all of a sudden, now it's 40 feet wide. So the lower storms are really the more problematic. Flooding's horrible. Trust me, I had tons of water in my house on 09. But that's sort of the theory with the rainfall reduction is to start trying to address that bank caving attribute. I'll get back out of my nerdism of stormwater and stop.
Thank you. Sure.
Councilwoman Miller is asking a question about the parking spaces. And of course, I know that those are tied to the amount of square footage of development. And I'm assuming that there may be some reduction, or I'm not assuming, but I'm concerned, would there be some reduction depending upon the use of the building? Or would it be make more sense to have an elevated parking garage to free up more land in order to use that land for retention or for runoff rather than having underground? I'm just asking that question.
So I provided you my site plan, so I don't know the number, so I apologize. But the majority of those spaces are chucks. And so that's sort of come up. We've got 2 parties that are vying to secure this location. There's a third party involved. We did not originally anticipate this many truck spaces, but this is what they're asking for. It's just because they're turning so much volume. I don't know who they are. I will tell you that my first guess was Amazon and Walmart, and I was told that was wrong. Is it wrong? I can't answer, but that's what it smelled like when they came back and said they wanted, I don't know how many I showed, but it seemed like they wanted like 900 spaces, and we couldn't get to that, you know, so there was some negotiation between me and my client of going on timeout. You know, the intent is to create this corridor down the connector, and so that's sort of where it was like, you know, we can't just keep creeping. So that is a max plan, and between us and the fence posts, I'm not even sure that we can fit all that on there.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. Yes, Coach.
Just, one of our citizens brought up traffic. Is a traffic study part of this? And what are we talking about here as far as the amount of cars and trucks added to this area?
Yeah, I can't answer that. What I can tell you is a traffic study was done. We went through the DRI process back probably a year and a half, 2 years ago with Greta, Georgia DOT, Douglas County City, every, I don't remember how far they reached, but every surrounding community was involved in the process, and basically it was approved as is. One of the things that came out of that is it is more trucks, but it's a significantly less number of auto trips based on the old zoning, with it being mixed-use apartments and residential or retail basis. I think that's what I remember us going through in the past. Was one of the nice things is the truck driver's not getting out there at 8 o'clock. He's not getting out there at 5. He might, but it means he's running late, because typically he's not going to sit in traffic, because he can only drive so many hours a day. My dad was a truck driver, was the only reason I know all these things. They're not going to do that, So I think that I would say that we've already put plus or minus 1 million square foot over there on Bright Star Road, and personally, and I mean I drive that road, not every day, but at least a couple times a week. I don't see a whole lot of trucks in there. I think they're going through there. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But the times I go through there, which is, I'm more like 8:30 to 9:30. I'm not an early riser. And then I'm out there at 5 to 7, and I have not noticed a truck backup. Okay, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It probably does on occasion, but I have not seen anything on our Facebook pages, about of that problem. I just don't remember the numbers, but I do know that the city has a copy of that study, and I'd be glad to resend it if need be.
Yes, we do have that when it went through zoning over a year ago. Yes.
I want to add to Coach's questions. How did you do a traffic study for a building that you don't know the tenant?
So we use the, make sure I get my acronyms right. It's the ITE, which I believe is the International, and it's not international, what does the I stand for? Institute of Traffic Engineers. And so based on, that it's a distribution center, then they have some codes that then, based on square footage, generate a certain number of trips, certain number of auto vehicle trips and so forth. And as part of that, we had to do what they call the, I think it's the 7% rule. So we had to, any intersection that we impacted by growing the volume by 7% or more had to be studied and analyzed with recommended solutions presented. And that's all in the DRI. That's where the red light came about on Bright Star and the connector. That's also where, if you remember, we talked about a right turn on Bright Star at 78, tying into the right turn on 78 back to 5, add another traffic signal, and then tying those all together so that worked as one interchange.
Yes, I do remember that. And I do remember the roundabout being a way to also handle that traffic, and it being a roundabout sufficient to take care of truck traffic.
And I will say, and like I say, I didn't do the report. I worked DOT for many years, but I'm not a traffic engineer. But there was no improvements mentioned on Highway 5, at Rose or Concourse or I-20. Now, there are ongoing planned improvements that the city probably knows a lot more than I do, but relative to our project, there was no recommendations there, per GDOT and Greta.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Do we have a time limit on this item,
Okay,
Madam City Clerk?
I'm not going to talk long. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It's me, I know.
I do appreciate, Mr. Chairman, making that giving us a reference to talk about how you diverting traffic from Highway 5. That was one of the concerns of, rest in peace, former council member Mike Miller, is not to bring the traffic on Highway 5,
right,
to divert it to another area, which would be Highway 78. But I did just want to bring to your recollection about the parking. The car spaces are 758, and trucking parking spaces are 513. Now, you have 513 for the truck parking and 270 for truck loading. What's the difference in the parking and the loading? I know the difference in loading a truck and parking a truck, but why is that delineate it out? Why is it?
Right. So I didn't catch the loading number, but to answer your question, loading would be actually sitting up against the building.
Right.
Moving things. So we're basically, that is a space that the tenants want us to define. So it says, this is how many dock doors I have.
Okay, so those are docks, not
Yes,
just,
ma'am.
okay.
So that, it's just basically saying that we can accommodate this max truck. But
Okay.
I don't know that I've ever seen one where every space is full.
So the 270 are for the ones that are going to be adjacent to the building or abut the building?
Yes, ma'am.
And the 513 are just truck spaces, or you'll have trucks that are just parked there
Yes.
feasibly?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the recommendation by Councilmember Nicole Miller to have 758 car parking for employees or whomever works there, I think, to have a parking deck like Greystone Power did would be maybe something to consider, the old Greystone Power building, where it didn't take up, so much room, and the surface, impervious surface would be a little bit better to have in a parking deck versus spread out more. So just a recommendation.
The only thing I would say is that, because that's basically all there against Academy, which we have between our parking lot and Academy property line, we basically have 300 feet. So that's sort of give you an idea of what that scale is on that drawing. Two issues. One, topographic, in that we're already pushing this building down. So
Okay.
I've got to get my truck around the building. So we do a
Okay.
parking deck, and now I got to take the truck through the parking deck.
Okay.
Okay, so that'd be the first. Second thing is that, and I know you're not engineers, but as you work towards Interstate 20, let's just say you're getting on highway, or Interstate 20 from Highway 5 going to Villa Rica. If you look right, you'll see a wall of granite. That's in that corner. So if I start trying to push that parking down versus trying to come up, that's
Okay.
another obstacle that I have.
Okay.
I'm not saying it wouldn't work.
Topography.
Anything will
Okay.
work with enough dollar bills.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anyone else? Want to make sure that we cover it.
You beat the horse.
Is there any, I've closed the public hearing for tonight for those for or against. I see someone raising their hand. I've already closed the public hearing. We will have discussion with further information on Tuesday prior to a vote. I would hope that we could handle any of that at that time. Okay? Thank you, Mr. Ray. We will take this up on Tuesday. Moving on to item D, and it is connected.
So that did take care of C. Are we done through C? I didn't know if we were.
Yes, we are done. We are done with C.
For now.
Thank you.
Item D, consider a request for approval of a development plan for Silverman Phase 5 for 98.79 acres at Bright Star Connector, land lot 159, District 2, Section 5, Parcel 31, for plans dated April 27th, 2021. Application by Hughes Ray Company. Ms. Patrice Williams.
Okay, Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. The development plan depicts a distribution center warehouse and a five two-story office buildings. The proposed warehouse is 1.2 million square feet and is located near the south of the site, adjacent to I-20. As you all are aware, the warehouse has 758 car spaces, 513 truck parking spaces, and 270 truck loading spaces. This plan does meet the requirements of the UDO.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Questions, comments of council?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. My computer's slowly loading this, so go ahead.
All right. I do want to talk about the design now. Of course, you knew where I was going to get to that. And Mr. Ray, I know you're the civil engineer, you're not the architect, so I don't know how well you can answer the questions, but I'm trying to wrap my head around the design for the offices and where that idea came from of the silos. I mean, we're not a farming community. I'm trying to get a sense of what's driving that.
Realistically, that the offices are still kind of in flux. And this is actually Silverman's home office. And I'm trying to convince them to build this for me on one of these sites.
Okay.
Silo or not, I don't know that I care, but it's really cool. If you see, I'll send you a picture. But so as we were working through it, they're like, we don't have an exact plan. I was like, give me that one because that's what I want to build. Okay. It does not, basically what I want to do is show that we are trying to, we want to go down the path of being something more modern and more new and innovative. But at the end of the day, we're not seeking to build these buildings right now, but I wanted you to see you know the word better than me. I want to see what the size of the building is, what the scope of the building would be, more of a visual for the connector parkway.
Okay. And the only thing I'll say is, please have them work on the design of the warehouse. Again, that's, you know, I know you don't get the opportunity to win too many design awards doing warehouses, but, you know, it'd be nice to see something doesn't look like a computer chip.
Right, and these will mimic, it looks like a little different colors. These will mimic the ones on Bright Star, as I say. But the good thing that I like about it, and I don't really know how tall they are. I think y'all's code restricts at 42, 43-foot height. But, you know, I know that the finished floor is plus or minus 18 feet lower than, you know, the average of the connector. So my hope is that with this two-story building up there, you're not going to see the distribution facility. I mean, you'll see it on the main parkways, but my hope is that we will screen that where you will not see it.
Can you see will you be able to see it from I-20?
Sure.
Probably got a better chance of seeing it from I-20 than you do from the
So
connector.
this will be what people are greeted with as they drive into Douglasville from the west.
Okay?
Something to consider.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
So, Mr. Ray, basically what you're saying is from the Bright Star connector, there would be the two-story buildings that you have shown us here, and then behind those would be the warehouses 18 feet below. So we would have a 20-foot building between us and an 18-foot drop to get to a 40-foot high building. So you may see part of in between the buildings that you have projected there on the Bright Star connector. Okay, I understand. Sort of like an office park with warehouse behind it. That's what I believe you're looking for.
Yeah, yes, sir. So when we were trying to vision this out back, I don't remember when we got zoned, let's say a year ago, you know, we were looking at that corridor down there around Six Flags. I think it's called Riverside, you know, and so how those office parks looked. And like I say, the challenge that I'll be presenting to our landscape side is in those parking lots and in those roadways, you know, how do we break it up? And so that's one of the things we've looked at with some islands so that we can get some planting. So if I am coming down the connector and I'm looking down the main driveway, you know, I'm gonna have the tree-lined street, but try to put some trees out here in some of these interchanges and or these intersections so that it breaks up that look of, you know, going, wow, that's a monster.
I understand. Okay. Yes, go ahead, Coach.
Do y'all already have a tenant for the 1.2?
I know there's 2 people vying for it. That's about all they've really released to me.
Thank you.
So I guess my question is, and this may be from Ms. Williams. Ms. Williams, this is not a part of a PUD. It's not a part of something that if there were to be a design change of the buildings, you've said that you don't know that you'd have the silos, you're not sure what they'll want to do. Will that then cause them to have to come back through and start over? Should this development plan be approved? No, sir. Okay. I just want to make sure that we're not building up to go through this same thing again over a silo being removed, because if so, then we need to make adjustments.
We'll make sure that you at least see the architecturals, you know, should they change. And like I say, the silo, I get it.
But as far as the development itself, the plans, the facades, everything in this plan is approvable, and it is within our facade ordinance and is approvable. Is that correct, Ms. Williams? That is correct. Okay. Any other question or comment? We're going to have to speed this up. Thank you very much, Mr. Ray. We look forward to seeing you then on Tuesday.
Sounds great. Y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Item E. I am on E, is that correct?
You're correct. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
My
Almost
computer's
halfway
not,
through.
my computer's.
Wasn't a public hearing.
It's not a public hearing, Mr. Fulton. You can have public comment if you would like during the public comment section of the meeting, but it's not a public hearing to have for and against comments during this. This is to consider a development plan that has been sent to us. If you'd like to make public comments, I'll allow it. Come forward. Let's get it over.
Yeah.
It's not a zoning hearing. That's my point. So
Yeah.
we're not required to give comment time for that, but we'll allow it.
Yeah, A, B, and C were public hearings, but the rest of them were not. But you, Mr. Chairman's pleasure.
Steve Fulton, 5317 Slater Mill Circle. Going back to earlier comments, as far as my big issue is traffic. So you're saying that you're going to take the trucks, Bright Star Connector to Highway 78. Where are they going to go from Highway 78? Back to Highway 5, get on I-20? Or go down 78 through town? I don't think so. I wouldn't, unless there's a wreck. And then the trucks that are coming to this facility, you're going to get off at I-20. You're going to come across Highway 5. That's going to be a disaster. It already is a disaster on that road now, and you're totally increasing the traffic without giving consideration to how you're going to move these people around. And trucks are not, unless you're going to restrict the trucks when they can move, they're going to be coming there 24/7. Because I'm in the transportation industry, I know what's going to happen. Thank you. That's my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Fulton. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Let's finish. Thank you, sir. Okay, I'm going to move on then to item E. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Consider request for final plat approval for the purpose of subdividing into 2 lots for 3.027 acres at 642 Thornton Road, land lot 423, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 7. Application by Cody Gullidge, Haynes, Gibson, and Associates. Ms. Williams?
Okay. This item goes with 21-314 and 21-313. With this item, the applicant is requesting final plat approval for the purpose of subdividing into 2 lots for 3.027 acres on 642 Thornton Road. This site is currently under review for development plan approval and a variance request. A Chipotle and Piedmont Urgent Care are proposed for this development. Previously, Ruby Tuesday operated at this location. Chipotle will be located on the western portion of the site and will be 2,336 square feet. The restaurant will have a patio and a drive-through that's around the building. The proposed urgent care facility will total 6,000 square feet.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. So basically what you're stating there is that this new plat, which we do have in front of us, is taking a parcel that had 1 building, a restaurant, previously on it, splitting it into 2 tracts and having 2 businesses within that. And I believe the total acreage is, looks like a little over 3 acres, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions, comments?
What were the 2, one was Chipotle?
And then the Piedmont Urgent Care.
Okay.
An immediate care facility in Chipotle, Mexican. Other questions, comments? Okay, thank you, Ms. Williams. That was quick. We'll move on to item F. Hold a public hearing and consider a request for a variance to reduce the required 15-foot side setback in Section 4.08B of the Unified Development Ordinance for a variance of 6 feet for a remaining requirement of 9 feet on the south side of a lot of 3.027 acres at 642 Thornton Road, land lot 423, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 7. Application by Cody Gullidge, Haynes, Gibson, and Associates. Ms. Williams, this is the same property
It's the
as
same
item
property.
E, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep. Basically, the applicant requests a variance to reduce the required 15 feet side setback for a remaining of 9 feet on the south side of the lot located at Thornton Road.
Is the applicant with us? If so, if the applicant would come forward, this being a public hearing, we need to allow the applicant time to present his request, and then we will have comments. How are you, sir? Name and address for the record, please.
Cody Gullidge with Haynes Gibson Associates, 1550 North Brown Road, Lawrenceville, Georgia.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. How are y'all this evening?
We're good, thank you.
As Patricia mentioned previously, the variance request is to reduce the setback, side setback for the proposed subdivision line from 15 feet to 9 and, to 9 feet. And the main reasoning behind this is that the Chipotle site would like to own the entirety of their driveway, and as the site is currently laid out, that would not be possible with the 15-foot setback because we would have to move that lot line to the west.
Okay, so basically what you're trying to do is have a drive-through.
Yes.
A takeout order drive-through, and you need that reduced sideline setback in order to make the drive-through the building and the setback on the other side work.
Yes.
Okay. What about the size of track 2? Could it not be reduced to accommodate that?
Well, if we change site or track 2 and try to shift it to the east to accommodate the setback, then we get into the current setback that is there with the adjacent property that I believe is a Express Tire Oil Center. So the developer figured it may be easier to go ahead with the new lot line and handle the variances and setbacks with this one as opposed to the existing ones.
I understand. Okay. Questions, comments? Madam Mayor? Do you
No,
have
sir.
a question or comment?
I do
Anyone?
not.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would have requests for information speaking either for or against this application? Please come forward. Thank you, Mr. Gullidge. Closing, since we don't see anyone wanting to speak for or against, and we'll close that portion of the public hearing. Unless there are other questions of council, we'll move on to the next item and take that up on Tuesday. Okay. Item G. Consider request for development plan approval for Lithia Springs Development for 3.027 acres at 642 Thornton Road, land lot 423, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 7. For the plans dated April 16, 2021. Again, application by Cody Gullidge, Haynes, Gibson, and Associates. Ms. Williams.
Okay, Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. The development plan does meet the requirements of the UDO for the Chipotle development.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. And we do have that layout and that development plan loaded to show the two parcels, the two businesses with the drive-through that we had mentioned in the previous section. Does that mean then that the building that the previous restaurant was in would be totally raised, taken off the property, and complete new buildings built, both? Is that the plan?
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
It appears that the building that exists on the property now will be completely removed, and there will be two new structures put in.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? Ms. Williams has already informed us of the correctness and the acceptability of the development plan as far as the facades. Are there any questions anyone has? Okay, thank you. Appreciate you coming in, sir.
Thank you.
We will take up that item then, item G, on Tuesday. Item H, consider request for final plat approval for the purpose of subdividing into two lots for 16.15 acres on Timber Ridge Drive, land lot 54, District 1, Section 5, parcel 185, application by Hughes Ray Company Incorporated. Ms. Williams.
Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. We did hear from the applicant, HRC, and they've requested that this item be pulled for the time being.
So we'll take no action on that on Tuesday then.
That is correct.
Let's move on. Thank you very much, Ms. Williams. Consider, let's see, item I, consider request for approval of a development plan for Northern Tool for 2.62 acres at Concourse Road in land lot 159, District 2, Section 5, Parcel 31. Plans dated April 12, 2021. Application by Saloni Kumkarni, Onyx Creative. Ms. Williams.
Patrice Williams. The proposal currently depicts one commercial building, a Northern Tool equipment store, and allowable use at this location. The applicant has submitted proposed exterior elevations and a site plan. Northern Tool will be located on the southern portion of the site and will be 22,000 square feet. Proposed facade materials include tilt-up concrete and pre-finished material. The development plan does meet the requirements of the UDO.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Is this basically the model, as you know it, that Northern Tool, okay, someone here from Northern Tool?
We do have the applicant with us.
Okay, please come forward, sir. Thank you. I'm sorry. How are you this evening?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Name and address for the record?
My name is Jeffrey Wakeman. I am with Stonegate Developers, LLC, 16930 West Catawba Ave in Cornelius, North Carolina.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. Tell us about your project.
This is a prototype Northern Tool and Equipment store. I don't know if you're familiar with that particular retailer. They sell heavy tools, typically to contractors or industrial uses. They also have trailers, pressure washers, those type of equipment. It's 22,000 feet, as Patrice said, and it's pretty much an open box inside. They have a little repair area in the back or lawnmowers and pressure washers they sell. But otherwise, it's a typical retail store.
Okay. I'll ask you the question I was going to ask Ms. Williams.
Sure.
So you've already answered the question. This is a new prototype for Northern Tool.
Yes.
We would be one of the first in our community to have this particular look store.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe there's 5 stores presently in the Atlanta area, but this would be the first one that's been constructed recently. I think the last one was about 10 years ago.
Okay. Questions, council? Madam Mayor? Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
I'm excited.
Well,
I
great.
need a pressure washer, and my son broke the lawnmower, so that would be nice to have. But no, this is exciting, and we appreciate you coming in.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. And Mr. Chairman asked a question I was going to ask about the prototype. Thank
Other
you.
questions, comments?
Can you describe where this is located?
Good question, Matt.
I see Bill Harp on there.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Sure.
good question.
It's right at the intersection of I-20 and Highway 5, in front of the Academy Sports,
Okay.
and behind the, I think it's 5 and 20 liquor store.
So you're going to get all the water runoff from the warehouse.
That's it.
You sure?
Opposite side.
It's not.
Hopefully,
No, it
we're
will
uphill a little
not.
bit.
It's on the other side.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Any others? Appreciate you coming in, sir. We'll take this up on Tuesday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Last item, imagine that. Consider request for final plat approval for the purpose of combining and subdividing into 2 lots for 9.031 acres at 6840 Church Street and on Church Street and Club Drive, Land Lot 16, District 1, Section 5A, Parcel 14, 18, 19, and 20. Application by City of Douglasville. This shows Ms. Patrice Williams, but that's not the case. Go ahead, Mr. Thompson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Marcus Thompson, City Engineer, 6701 Church Street. So the item before you this evening is pretty straightforward. The final plat will subdivide the former jailhouse property into 2 different lots. The first lot will be owned by the city. It's 2.2 acres, and it will be considered a public portion of the site for the Town Green development, Town Green Amphitheater development. The second lot is roughly around 6.8 acres. It's proposed for a mixed-use development and will be owned by the MCRT Investments, LLC. Are there any further questions?
Questions? Yes, Madam Mayor, go ahead.
MCRT Milk Creek.
Yes. Is that the appropriate name?
Mill Creek Residential Trust.
Okay.
Okay, now, I don't know, we probably discussed this. Is there like a 30-year, some kind of, do we ever get it back, or they own it forever and ever, amen? Do we do a lease, or how does that work?
There's another item, Mayor,
Okay.
for the agreement. This is just the plat.
Okay, never mind.
Other questions, comments? None?
You put the fear of God of us when you said.
No,
Joe,
ma'am.
yeah.
That's not what that was intended for. These are all important items.
Don't
Yes.
forget how you did it.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. We'll take this up then, if everything is correct and in order, and staff says that it is. Take this up on Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Mayor, that is all that we have tonight under that illustrious Committee of Planning and Development.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You did a wonderful job. We'll move on then, if you just can clear your throat, for Finance Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams as well. Encore.
Somebody's going to have to quit putting these back to back. That's all I can say. Finance has 2 items tonight.
Yes, sir.
Authorize the mayor to sign the purchase and sale agreement with MCRT Investments LLC and all documents related to the agreement for the sale of the prospective mixed-use development adjacent to the prospective town green. Ms. Woodward?
Answer my question.
Thank you, Chairman Adams. This is for the purchase and sale agreement, which would be in fee simple to MCRT Investments. They are the Mill Creek people. And the deal points have already been in the MOU that y'all have voted to approve previously, but just to recap, the sales price is it's going to be based on how many units they decide to construct. And it would be $10,000 per unit with a floor of $2.9 million. They currently are projecting 350 units. As far as investigation period goes, or due diligence period, it's going to be 120 days. Plus they have one 30-day extension as of right, and they may further request extensions, but not to exceed a total period of 30 days. And lastly, we will be entering into a joint development agreement with them after the due diligence period is over. I can answer questions if you have any.
Questions, comments? Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I see you reaching for your mic. Go ahead.
So if my math is correct, we'll have actually made a profit on this. Well, okay.
Yes, sir. I
Make
think if we do the math correctly, we would, yes.
Okay, I want to make sure that I got that right.
Okay.
Yes,
Mr.
Madam
Chairman.
Mayor.
So it's a joint agreement. I see Mr. Humphreys is here. I don't know if you're here for this one. It's a joint agreement, and they're going to own that 6 acres or forever and ever, or do we?
Yes, ma'am, they are. They would be purchasing the 6 acres, and if you notice Phase 1 in the drawing there, page 6 of 6 on this item, the city would retain the Phase 1 2.2 acres for the town green. And then the development company would purchase the 6.796 acres as Ms. Woodward has described.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Was there, Mr. Pumphrey, she has introduced you. Was there a reason did you need to speak concerning this item?
Just in case there were any questions that came up.
Okay, thank you for being here and indulging us for this period of time. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll take that up then for a vote on Tuesday. Item B, adopt an ordinance by the City of Douglasville to adopt regulations to apply to short-term rentals. Ms. Callan had talked with us about that in our committee meetings earlier, and we'll allow her to give us that information again prior to vote. Thank you, Ms.
Karen Callan, 6695 Church Street, Finance Director for the City of Douglasville. This ordinance serves to hold short-term rentals to the same tax rate as our traditional hotels. Ms. Chelsea Jackson researched during our earlier in the meeting, and there are 72. There's a source that says there are 72 short-term rentals in the Douglasville area in June. So there might be some. Of course, those won't all be rented out at the same time, and I wouldn't expect a huge amount of revenue coming in. But I think once we get more history, we'll be able to report to you on those numbers.
Thank you, Ms. Callan.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, Coach Watts.
Ms. Callan, did you say that during the month of June there were 72 rentals that would fit into this, what we're doing here? Or was there a total of 72 potential rentals?
72 potential rentals.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Others? We have a full house here tonight. All the council is here. Is there any reason we could not place this one item on the consent agenda?
Please do.
I'm sorry, LaShawn is not here. I apologize.
She won't be here Monday either. She won't be here on Tuesday.
Or Tuesday.
Put it on there, man.
I would like to see that if possible, so I can say that I have one item on the consent agenda.
Yeah, she
Not
won't
taking
be
this
here
lightly. Thank you. That's all that I have tonight. Madam Mayor, under Finance, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll go on to Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening.
Thank you. Public Relations Committee, chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We, too, have no business this evening.
Thank you, sir. Public Safety Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
I have one item, Madam Mayor, request for a special event permit for the outdoor pouring of alcoholic beverage and the following establishment: Licensing, Broad Street Depot, LLC, DBA Broad Street Station, location on Near Plaza, date, time of event, September 11, 2021, from 11 a.m. until 11:30 p.m., October the 2nd, 2021, from 11 a.m. until 11:30 p.m., November 6, 2021, from 11 a.m. until 11:30 p.m., and December the 5th, 2021, from 11 a.m. until 11:30 p.m. event, Broad Street Concert Series, Agent Outlet Manager Sean McPherson. The required fees have been paid into the city finance. Would the applicant please come down, state your name and Location for the record, please.
I'm Sean McPherson, Broad Street Depot, 12377 Veterans Memorial Highway, Douglasville, Georgia.
Mr. McPherson, on the agenda, it only have September to November. Then on the tablet, it has from September to December.
I was informed this morning that there would be a conflict with the Christmas decorations on December 5th, so we just decided maybe just to move that off the application, so there wouldn't be a conflict.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad I've seen it on the agenda, thank you. Tell us a little bit about what's going to be going on with
Concerts?
with the concert series, the first concert series.
Just ticketed concert series out on O'Neill Plaza, the 3 dates mentioned, and we're going to be bringing in some tribute bands I got scheduled, and it's going to be, you know, I think you guys all have the site map right in front of you guys, right? It's just going to be a ticketed concert event. We're going to be selling alcohol in the plaza, and it's a 500 cap event. The first one is a Allman Brothers tribute band that I'm proposing. I'm just kind of waiting for the permits from you guys to confirm up the
A
rest.
little louder for the records.
I'm just waiting for the permits from you guys to confirm up the rest of the acts for the rest of the year. But the September 11th one is fixing to be an Allman Brothers tribute band, and I do have Rebirth on hold for October 2. But I'm just kind of hesitant to confirm some of these acts until I hear from you guys.
Also, I'm sure you have got with the PD department for security from that time, from 11 to 11, the time, the ordinance is from 11 p.m., that's the ordinance.
Yeah.
On the outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the concerts will be done by 11 p.m. without a doubt. We'll put 11:30 because there's going to be some breakdown involved in, you know, the concert, you know.
Okay, we have Council Mayor, Madam Mayor.
Thank
Yes.
you so much. Congratulations, Mr. McPherson, in coming forth with the ticketed concert series. We're excited about that. I didn't have a question. I just wanted to make a comment that you all had a really nice picture in the Sentinel of you and your staff, and we're just excited for the business. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I had.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. McPherson, it's really good to see you here again this evening. I just wanted to personally tell you myself that I apologize because I misunderstood your map last time when you came to see us, and looking at it now and actually having some conversations after that meeting and understanding that you're not using the entire square, and people will still be able to freely walk through. It's not going to be completely roped off. So thank you for coming back. I'm glad that I have a better understanding, and I'm really excited to have you here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question of Mr.
Yes.
McPherson? Just, and this may not be the right time, but were you able to open today?
We opened like 2 hours ago.
2 hours ago. Congratulations and welcome. We look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. That's all.
Mr. McPherson, you seem to be doing a very successful job of advertising because I'm getting your ads showing up on my phone now. Literally, although I'm not sure why you think I'm a big AC/DC cover band fan, but.
My phone does stink. I will say Saturday night's concert sold out already at the station, so we're super excited.
Good.
Good.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So the folks that attend the concert, the pay, will they bring their own chairs, or are y'all going to have some type of seating?
They're going to be standing room with the
Standing.
capacity we have, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And open bar out on the patio.
There's going to be a bar out underneath my patio, you know, on my property, definitely, yeah. You can actually go out there and see it. It's not stocked yet, but you'll see where it is and what we're going to do. And then we're going to have, you know, people serving under there.
So you have to get with the PD department and for security.
Absolutely. I was just waiting to hear from you guys to contact them.
And hopefully we have enough officers available. Okay, any other questions?
I just want to say I think this is fantastic, and thank you for everything you're doing to help revitalize downtown.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, if there's no other questions, come back on Tuesday, and we'll have your answer, okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
That's
you.
all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight and under Recreation, Culture, and Tourism.
Thank you, Coach Watts. Technology Committee chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We
You're
mercifully
welcome.
only have one item under the Technology Committee.
I know, poor Karen waited until the entire meeting.
That is to authorize the mayor to sign a lease agreement with New Singular Wireless PCS LLC for the use of the city's downtown communications tower. Ms. Knight, thank you for sticking with us tonight.
I know.
Certainly.
Lot
I'll
going on.
make this short. Karen Knight, Communications Coordinator, 2083 Fairburn Road. This is for AT&T to do a new lease agreement for our lease on the Spring Street Tower site. It's similar to the T-Mobile one we did a couple of weeks ago. It'll be another 25-year agreement. Their rate will be $2,500 a month and then increase per the rate schedule that's included with the agreement.
Okay. 25 more years of me catching those EM waves underneath that.
I know. Eventually.
Oh, gosh.
I can't imagine there's, well, let me ask if there's any questions first. Anybody from?
Did you say a 25-year agreement?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just trying to think about where I'm going to be 25 years from now. I'll probably be too old to worry about it, but anyway.
Trust me, when the first one was done in 97, who would have ever thought?
You'd still be here.
We'd still be here. I mean, you know.
Any other questions, concerns? Okay, I can't imagine there's any objection for me putting this on the consent agenda for Tuesday. We shall do that. Thank you, Ms. Knight. We appreciate your efforts on this. Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor, that's all I have under the Technology Committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Transportation Committee, you're the vice chair of that committee. Would you please take that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have absolutely no business under the Transportation Committee at this time.
Thank you, sir. Other business, is there any other business to come before committee, this legislative work session tonight from council members? The only thing is, like I said, during the committee meetings, to talk to our citizens about fireworks that they start. We have our same requirements as the state of Georgia. They start January 1st and 4th of July at midnight. And so we ask people to, it's on our social media platforms about the requirements. So we ask not to go into early morning with fireworks. With that said, anything from council members? Okay, if not, we'll move on then to updates from city staff. Our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dodson.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Staff attorney, Ms. Lynn Woodward.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. The police department.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much. Our city manager, Ms. Hampton.
Only thing just to remind you all about the July 4th holiday. So we will have fireworks that will be shot off at around 9:30, 9:45 or so at dark. You all are welcome to attend, find parking spaces. I'm pretty certain Captain Deming and the rest of the police department will be driving around patrolling, making certain everyone stays safe. Reminder as well about the governor's orders that we are no longer under an emergency order, so things are back to normal. So we are moving along accordingly, which means that all activities and events for the city of Douglasville, we will start resuming those after September. So we will try to continue to incorporate everything that we have back into our city activities. You all, City Hall is closed on Monday, so we will see you on Tuesday.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Hampton, did I read correctly there are no committees on Tuesday?
That's your July 4th gift.
That's such a blessing. So we'll report at 6 instead of 5.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all you had, city manager?
That's it.
Thank you so much. Now we've come to the portion of comments from citizens and delegates. If there's anything that any of our citizens that are left would like to say to us, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes. What? Okay. We got another 4th of July gift. Okay. If we don't have any other business, then this meeting is adjourned until Tuesday, July 7th. This meeting is adjourned.